Twitter. Fix this. Fix this. This is misleading. Okay, let's see what he actually said. Before we go, what I think happened, and I am very happy to be proven wrong. My understanding is that there's new requirement now for truck drivers entering and leaving the United States and Canada, the border, to show that they are vaccinated in order to be able to cross the border. My understanding is that this is both ways, and the requirement has been put in place by Canada, but also by the United States. That's what I'm understanding so far. Also correct. Okay, good. So far, I'm flawless on this. And a apparently growing group of truck driver are protesting this measure. Flawless. Protest this measure that they deem to be unfair. And they are right now blockading the city of Ottawa, trying to get things to change. And with that comes its own lot of problems and a lot of controversy. Let's go. I'll jump in.
After discussing with Cabinet and Caucus, after consultation with premiers from all provinces and territories, after speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
To supplement?
I want to be very clear. The scope of these measures will be time-limited, geographically targeted, as well as reasonable and proportionate to the threats they are meant to address. The Emergencies Act will be used to strengthen and support law enforcement agencies at all levels across the country. This is about keeping Canadians safe, protecting people's jobs, and restoring confidence in our institutions. Here's how the measures we're taking today will help get the situation under control. The police will be given more tools to restore order in places where public assemblies can constitute illegal and dangerous activity.
Yeah, that was a problem, right? That was a problem because according to Canada's rules, you are allowed to protest. But my understanding, again, is that these blockades were becoming a problem because they were not letting people go through. And some businesses were getting starved and were not receiving anything. So what's what it says here? So what I'm hearing from one of the fanatic right-winger here, my boss, he's saying that Trudeau is declaring martial law. Okay. Which, to my knowledge, doesn't exist up there in the same way. It doesn't exist up there in the same way. You are correct. We had what was known before as the Law Measures Emergency, which allowed the government to deploy military everywhere, which did happen in October in the 70s, like I spoke earlier about the October crisis. Zeke, this is also interesting. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Zeke. Thanks for joining us. This is apparently big news. So I don't want to say anything wrong about this. So we are going to get ourselves informed and going to look at both sides of the story. But yeah, it seems like, to my understanding, again, that these protests were becoming a problem in the long term. They were not protests. They were like more of a blockade. And the current laws and police doesn't allow them to remove and force them out. So Salty. Hey, Salty. He declares some act that have been never declared before. No, Zeke, that's the term of word. He declared the Emergency Act, which quote unquote is a reskin, using gamer words here, of the Law Measures Emergency Act. So the Loi des Mesures de Guerre, which is kind of the same thing, but it just in 1988 they just changed the name. So technically, you're right. It's the first time it's being invoked under the new name. But it was invoked before by who? Pierre-Elliott Trudeau, who was Justin's father. So let's go back here.
Police can constitute illegal and dangerous activities, such as blockades and occupation.
Could you tell me what the Emergency Act actually covers? I don't know. For the next article I have lined up, we are going to look into this. I don't want to speak out of my ass here, and I want to discover this. So we will see exactly what it means, so that people like your colleague don't call it martial law for no reason.
As seen in Ottawa, the Ambassador Bridge, and elsewhere. These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment. The government will designate, secure, and protect places and infrastructure that are critical to our economy and people's jobs, including border crossings and airports. We cannot and will not allow illegal and dangerous activities to continue. The Emergencies Act will also allow the government to make sure essential services are rendered, for example, in order to tow vehicles blocking roads. In addition, financial institutions will be authorized or directed to render essential services to help address the situation, including by regulating and prohibiting the use of property to fund or support illegal blockades.
Thanks for lurking, Pizza. Thanks for lurking. So what do we have here? It's always nice to see you, Pizza, on the stream. What do we have here? Let's just go back to a few comments we had here before we go on. Could you tell me? Yeah, we checked that protests are wishy-washy with what their rights are. Yeah, it's always the case, Zeke. Still crazy it's being long, though. Protests, people always complaining about protests, whatever decides. So if somebody's protesting for something you like, and you're in favor of, but not you personally, Zeke, but most people, you will most likely just call them, yeah, they're protesters. And if they're protesting against something you dislike, you disagree with, you will call them rioters and looters, right? So it's like terrorism. I used to work with this guy who was a spy for the government of Canada. I'm editing his podcast, by the way. You can have a look. His name is Phil Gursky, and I will mostly have him on the show in a few days so we can talk spy business with him. I edited his podcast. It's called Canadian Intelligence A, so CIA. I'm gonna put it in chat here. Canadian Intelligence A podcast. See, it's a play on word on CIA. And he's been a spy and a national security expert. He's worked at CSIS for more than 30 years. And that's what he always tells. Someone's terrorist is someone else's freedom fighter. So I'm going to apply that to the protesters here. There's people always so one-sided, two-sided. So right-wing people will condemn every protester coming from the left, but cry outrage when their protests are being stopped. And left-wing people will do the same, will condemn and ask police to go stop every protester from the right side, but will scream and protest when their requested are stopped. So I think we're never going to get through this one. We'll never get through this one. Well, fine is imprisonment if you don't pay. Yeah, that's true. So the fact that he said that is funny. True. Fudd says here, yeah, martial law is a very fixed red line for a lot of folks down there, but with most of these same folk having a very, very skewed worldview, they tend to think that anytime some government put their foot down, they scream martial. Yeah, exactly. What do you have? So it's remotely... Fudd, before we go, are there any of these kinds of protests going on in your country, in the United States as well? Because since this is a by country law that is happening on both sides, are people protesting on your side? I didn't hear about that. Nothing major since January 6th. You mean this January 6th or the last one? Do we have, unless they got some crack, okay, do you have any truck drivers in the United States protesting that they cannot enter Canada? Because people here, they protest they cannot enter the United States, and I think they're protesting the wrong people. Because if they don't have a proof of vaccination, the United States will not allow them to come in. So what's the point of protesting in Ottawa when the rule is not... So that's what I don't get. You're protesting the wrong people. United States put their rules, and we also have the same rules, but the rules we put in place stop people from the United States to come back. Supposedly there is supposed to be one taking place next month. Can't remember which day. I mean, they're always protesting, but you guys have the limelight right now. Yeah, we do have. Throw your logic plus reason on the door. Makes sense. Well, I'm trying to bring logic and reason to that. So let's go back to our dear PM here.
Prohibiting the use of property to fund or support illegal blockades. And finally, it will enable the RCMP to enforce municipal bylaws and provincial offences where required.
Why?
This is what the Emergencies Act does. Let me be equally clear.
Let's be clear. Go
about
ahead.
what it does not do. We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not suspending fundamental rights or overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally.
You kind of are. That's the point.
We are reinforcing the principles, values, and institutions that keep all Canadians free.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that lady nodding in the back. Yeah. Gonna be a PM in a few years, probably. Yeah, nodding. So, what we learned here? They are giving police pizza. So what we learned here? They are giving the police more tools, quote unquote, more tools and more powers to react to the ongoing protests. Okay. So we're gonna learn more about this. Don't worry, we have a few tabs and a few videos lined up. But so far, we have truckers. Well, a group of truckers, not all of them. A growing group of truckers blockading the capital city, not letting people go through because of a rule that was put in place by another country that affects them. And they're stopping people right here to live their life properly, which is kind of ironic if I get it properly. Because they kind of say that, well, that's another debate, but a lot of people on that side kind of say that the measures put in place to combat COVID were limiting their lives. And now they're doing the same thing. They're stopping lives from people. So yeah, so more police. I don't understand why. What you need to do, like you said, you just bring, big trucks. Take their trucks, put them out of the way, and that's it. Give fines. Red 5, thanks for being here. She's very distracting, by the way. Well, as a non-Canadian, it sounds more like they're allowing the police to enforce laws that are normally not enforced during protests, like this partner. Exactly. Thank you. Somebody's making sense to my view.